Hello there. It's a long time since my last video. I'm afraid I've been busy with lots of real world stuff away from the computer. So I just really haven't had the time to actually do a video, unfortunately. So anyway, here I am now. And I wanted to talk to you about, this whole concept of the digital life, the digital world, what people used to call cyberspace, which we've kind of got so used to it now, people don't really use that term anymore. But more and more, we're being gradually shoved further and further into the world of digital life. So, I mean, it used to be the case that you sat down at your computer and you were immersed in the digital world, the internet, etc. Now it's progressed from that to first of all being on sort of a tablet, and then being on your phone, and then being on like a much smaller kind of proper tablets instead of laptops, and then now it's progressed to the watch, and there will be glasses and all kinds of wearables which will be linked up to the internet. And of course you can have everything in your house, your fridge, your telly, everything hooked up through smart devices, through smart meters. So in fact your whole world, your whole life becomes digitized. Instead of putting on a record, you just tell Alexa that you want to listen to this record or that record or this radio station. And of course all this information is recorded. So in the analog world, if you wanted to put on some music, you would just get your record out, put it on the turntable, listen to it, and nobody anywhere outside of your house would know what you were listening to or what your preferences are. And that's how it's always been. Back in the past, if you lit a fire every night and you cooked your dinner over the open fire, outside your hut or in a cave, whatever, there wasn't somebody there with a notepad writing down, has made fire this time, cooks venison again tonight, and then sends it off, notes off to some important ruler person somewhere. People wouldn't have stood for that. But now what's effectively happening is your devices are making notes about what you do and sending it back to the boss, whether that's Google or Facebook or whoever it happens to be. And people have got so used to it, they're just accepting it. This is not living in the real world. This is living in a virtual world, in a digital world, where everything is catalogued, where your entire life is monitored, and the data that's about you is sold. That's what it's all about, selling your data and controlling people's behavior patterns. So the more they know about you, the more they can predict what you're going to do, and also try to steer you in certain directions in terms of your consumer choices, your hobbies, what you're going to do with your time and your life. And we are unfortunately very suggestible. So they'll use all this information about us to direct us in certain directions. Another thing that's really sad, unfortunately, about the digital world is the de-skilling of people. People don't have the same life skills they used to have. Like, you cannot get an iPhone app to chop wood. You could probably get an app that sort of virtually chops wood, but in reality, you have to go outside, you need to get an axe, it needs to be sharp, you need to know how to use the axe, and you need to know how to position the wood and how to swing the axe properly in order to chop the wood up. You cannot use an app to chop wood. If you want a real fire, you're going to have to go out there and either buy ready cut wood or cut it yourself. And that's the big problem. The basic things like even cooking, so many people can't even cook a basic meal anymore. And it just struck me that so many people are now effectively useless because technology has intervened in their lives to the point where they don't have to worry about it. In fact, you can just ring up somebody, or you can go on an app and order some food delivered straight to your door. You don't have to worry about being unable to cook or even prepare the most basic foodstuffs, like even making a sandwich. You can just use your app to buy a sandwich. But the thing is, that's all fine while the technology works perfectly, or while you have access to it. I mean, supposing you lose your access because of some indiscretion or crime, then you don't have the availability, and you can't do anything. If you can't do anything yourself, then if you are in digital prison, then you're screwed, basically. And what happens if it all goes down? The internet goes down, digital life is an end. How are you going to look up how to fix your car, how to chop wood, how to cook a dinner if there's no internet? So being self-reliant is an excellent backup if everything goes wrong. If you know how to do something that's just basic core functions of life, there will be times when there will be a power cut and you will just have to function without all of this. And, if we become increasingly useless, increasingly dependent on technology and digital life, then, when there is a power cut, there'll be mass panic. People will just go into a panic because they will not know how to exist without the internet and without the devices. So I think we are preparing humanity for the biggest disaster in history by going down this road. And I think we need to get back to the real world. We need to get back to living in the real world. There's nothing wrong with having apps. There's nothing wrong with having digital technology. But we shouldn't become reliant on it. We should still live in a real world where we can do things for ourselves. For instance, be able to add up without a calculator. Various things like that. Knowing how to plant vegetables and grow them. Knowing how to cook. Knowing how to make a fire. How to chop wood. For instance, this last weekend I planted what you could call a giant birdhouse, 130 meters of trees, otherwise known as a hedge. But the hedge's main function, apart from being a boundary, is to provide a home for birds. So if you have a big hedge in your garden, you don't actually need a birdhouse for them to live in. That's something that ends up having to be put into urban places because there aren't enough trees for them to live in. So that's not a difficult task, but I know for a fact there's many people who would not be able to do that. They just don't have the skills or the basic knowledge of being able to go and plant a hedge. And it just makes me really sad to see the absolute sort of lack of basic life skills that so many people now have. It's not too late. Anybody can learn. You can go and look up on YouTube how to use a drill, how to dig a hole, how to plant a tree, how to fry an egg. Everything is there if you can be bothered to go and learn it. And these are all real life skills. They may be a bit boring, but if the electricity goes or the internet goes down and your phone goes down, you need these things to fall back on. So I would suggest very much that if you are living an entirely digital life that's reliant on technology, it's time you woke up and started living in the real world and learning some real world skills. Okay, that's all I have to say for today. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. And if you like that, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks. Bye-bye.